Welcome back to another episode of Aussie Google Earth Explorer. Today's episode is Badgerys Creek. This is the Western Sydney Airport. We're going to be talking about everything to do with this airport. But before we get to that, I just had a brilliant idea. I'm staring at this thing and I'm reading my show notes about all the controversy, about the impact statement, about people that live in the area. Everyone's unhappy. And it just dawned on me, right? We got to start talking directly to the people. This is the Western Sydney Airport, for crying out loud, right? We got to make it more Western Sydney. So I just had a brainwave. And hear me out here. I might sound a little bit crazy, but I think this could work, okay? And then we'll get on with the episode. Look, currently we're talking one big terminal. I propose a radical change, all right? 1, 2, 3 terminals. Let's split them up and let's make them for Western Sydney. We're going to start on the left-hand side here, Terminal 1. This is the Penrith Panthers terminal, all right? We're going to get a huge, almost like Rio de Janeiro, the Jesus Christ statue of Nathan Cleary kicking a field goal right here in bronze, okay? As you enter the Panthers terminal, it's almost like you're walking into the Penrith Panthers Leagues Club. There's poker machines everywhere, right? It's pretty much like walking into a tab area. That's what I wanted to set up. So you've got about 50 screens. First screen has departures. Second screen, okay, it's just got all the dog races and horse races happening. All right, it's like a tab. Third screen, that's arrivals. Fourth screen, more dog races, and so on and so forth. So you can go in there, you can catch a flight to Abu Dhabi, and you can get on the number 1 at Wentworth Park. So that's going to work out fine. I think that's going to work well, okay, with the Penrith clientele. Now, other things you can do in this airport, in the Penrith Panthers terminal, all right? Relive the glory days of the last 4 years. Exactly. It's every grand final is going to be played on a big screen for 24 hours a day. We're talking 2021, 2, 3, 4 grand finals. 24 hours a day streaming. We're going to have the Scott Sattler tackle from back in the day. That's just on repeat. You can win a meat tray. There's a badge draw. It's the Penrith Panthers terminal. Right? I think that would work out perfectly. So that's Terminal 1, right? Terminal 1 on the left-hand side, that's your Penrith Panthers terminal. Now, it wouldn't be Western Sydney if we didn't have a terminal for our Lebanese brothers and sisters, right? This is the Lebanese terminal in the middle. Now, mate, let's not get it twisted. The Lebanese community is one of the most celebrated and colourful communities of the western suburbs, right? They've got the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Think about everything that the Lebanese community has given us. All the beautiful food. Mate, this is what I propose, all right? You walk in there, straight away, it's a big shisha bar. You can smoke shisha any time of the day, 24 hours a day, right? You can get all your kuftas, you can get your fatoush, your kibbeh, your manouche. You can get all your foods in the center here, right? Now, what else can you do? Mate, I've got an idea. Let's turn this thing into 1 part terminal, 1 part wedding venue. Perfect. And then the happy couple can jump on the plane here, boom, Greek Islands. It goes straight out, no dramas. And in fact, I think this actually works well with the amount of Lamborghinis and AMG Mercedes. So we can actually use this part of the runway here as almost like a bit of a... you could put, Ferrari, Lambo, almost like when you go to that Le Montague in Sydney, if you know what I'm talking about, white Ferraris and Lambos everywhere. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing the middle part. We're going to do that. That's the Lebanese area, right? I think that would work out well. Then, again, this is the Western Sydney Airport. We got to have an Adelaide terminal. We got to have an Eshe Airlines on the right-hand side. It's just wall-to-wall Nike stores. Every TN ever made you can get here, all right? ASICS, of course. ASICS have their stores there. You can get all the latest Kayanos. You can get the old-school ones. The only food you can get in the Adelaide terminal, Spanish kebabs. It's like 18 Spanish kebab shops. That's all you get, right? There's maybe a Muay Thai gym here. You can do some kickboxing and like punch on in a safe environment. It's a controlled environment. Let's not get carried away. This is the government facility, right? The Australian government owns the airport. But that way, all right, we're catering to the population, all right? No more dramas about how much noise pollution this is going to make, blah, blah, blah. I think that would settle everyone down and it would make the Western Sydney Airport a bit more of an attractive concept. So that's just my ideas, all right? We've got the Aussie terminal, the Lebanese terminal, and that LAD terminal on the side, Adelaide Airlines on the right-hand side. But hey, that's a little bit of a tangent. Bit off topic. This is the Western Sydney Airport terminal, right? This is the Badgerys Creek site. So this site here, and I didn't know this, when I was doing the show notes for this episode, I found this fascinating. They were talking about building an airport in Western Sydney as far back as the 1940s. So after World War II, everyone was saying, hey, we're going to need a second airport. And if the reason why, and I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Let's zoom out here. This is Sydney, okay? Let me just put the markers back on here. This is Sydney. It's a huge city. 5 million people live in this city, right? And we've only got one airport. It's all the way over here in the eastern suburbs. This is it, the Sydney Airport. Now, if you imagine that you lived anywhere on the left-hand side of this cursor, okay? Anywhere on the left-hand side of this is about 2.5 million people that live on this side, right? It's a lot of people. And for those people to come all the way to this airport here, it could take them over an hour, let alone how expensive that would be if they were going to get like an Uber or something. It would be incredibly expensive. So there is a need for a second airport. And no one's saying that there's not a need for a second airport. However, the problem with building a second airport is, and you know, granted, if you look at where they've chosen, it's not the most densely populated area. Like, people live out here, but compared to over here in St. Clair, all over here, Penrith, Kingswood, these are heavily populated areas. Over here, this is more like, these used to be farm, like this used to all be farmland. This used to all be farms. And then over time, people built sort of smaller houses. And these are nice houses, by the way. If you own land out here, mate, you are sitting on a gold mine. These are multi-million dollar properties, all of these, probably because of the size of the land. And as Sydney has expanded west, all of these properties have become more expensive. The problem is, though, that this airport currently, as it stands, has been proposed to be a 24-hour airport. A 24-hour airport, which means if you happen to live here in Luddenham, for example, there's a chance at 4 a.m, 777 is going to land directly over your house and wake you up in the middle of the night. It's a pretty brutal proposition, okay? It is a pretty brutal proposition. Now, you can contrast this with the Sydney airport, the Kingsford Smith airport, which we just looked at. That airport has a curfew after 11 p.m. So it's 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. Between those hours, you can take off and land. But after 11 and before 6, there is no activity at that airport, right? So if you wanted to land at like 10 past 11, you can get fined over $1 million. The airline can get fined over $1 million. So they police it very, very heavily. This airport, mate, free for all. Absolute free for all. And the reason why people are so upset about that is because all these people that live in this area they're getting rolled, essentially. They're getting rolled. But it's a tricky situation because you need to build a bloody airport and it's got to go somewhere. And looking at the map, I mean, doing the research for this show, they got to put it somewhere. And it actually seems like a half decent spot. And I know for a lot of people, it's probably going to really impact their properties and their livelihood, but it's a tough situation. A couple of facts about this airport while we're looking at it. $11 billion this project has taken. This project is going to cost $11 billion. It's owned by the Australian federal government, so it's an Australian-owned facility. It's not a privatised airport. And yeah, like I said, I've been talking about this since the 40s. It wasn't until about 2012 that they actually got the planning development and they secured the site and they started doing all the impact statements and you know, I guess doing the drafts. So they've been at this thing for like over 10 years. It's been a really, really long time. It opens in 2026 and it should serve about 10 million passengers a year, which it's a big airport, right? And we talked about that, the need for having another major airport out in the suburbs. There's a lot of problems with, we talked about the flight paths, we talked about the residential, we talked about the curfews, but there's some cool stuff, right? There's going to be a direct line from the Sydney Metro here. So you can get the Metro. You can get a direct line from the state-of-the-art Metro service, going to take you straight to the airport. And, I think it's all right. I think it's all right. It looks cool from the air. Like, let's have a little bit of a look around here. This is obviously where the main terminal's being built. And, of course, they're going to change their designs now that I've introduced the Aussie, Lebanese, and Adelaide side. But that's fine. This runway here, 3.7 kilometers long, huge runway. And just imagine how many Ferraris and Lamborghinis you're going to be able to fit on this thing. Imagine how many G-Wagons you're going to fit on that. Right, this airport, one part burnout pad. These should all be burnout pads. And isn't that nice? Let's end the episode on that. This is going to be a short episode, but let's end the episode on this, right? 2024, the world pretty divided, okay? And I'm proposing maybe a division of itself. I'm proposing to divide three cultures, Aussie, Lebanese, and Adelaide's. I'm proposing to divide them. However, we can all agree on one thing that brings all of these cultures together, and this is a beautiful thing, right? And what is that thing? The love of the burnout. Exactly. Let's turn all of these things here into burnout pads, and let's just let it rip. Let it rip for the nation. That'll bring us together. Nothing like bringing it together with a bit of burning rubber. Blow the tyres off an old VL. If that's not Australia, I'm not here. I'm not here. And that's the Western Sydney Airport. It's a quick episode. We're going to do some quicker episodes. Episodes have been getting pretty long. We want to keep it fun. We want to keep it lighthearted. Last episode, pretty serious. So if you like that one, leave a comment, subscribe, and see ya.